Okay, so I'm Ryan Lawler, principal of the high school. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We're going to have Dr. Worson and Ms. Budrick and our wind ensemble and select chorus take care of the stuff right class.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for coming tonight, our November 18th board meeting. We are going to get things started with the national anthem. 17.
Okay, students, thank you very much for taking time out of your evening to perform that for us tonight. Thank you.
Again, thank everybody for coming out to our November 17th Board of Education meeting. We're going to begin things this evening with correspondence and communications with our Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Michael Brooks.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out, and wonderful parent conferences as I wandered around the building tonight, and hopefully parents gained some good insight into their children's progress here at the high school. Education also just finished a tour of the facility. We took a look at the planetarium, we took a look at our engineering and robotics program, and also the wonderful mechanics of our pool system. So we took a look at a lot of different varied spaces, and finished off with some sampling from our cafeteria so we can get a sense of where our food product program is. So thank you very much, Mr. Lawler and staff, for taking us on that tour. Correspondence and communications, we have something that's going to pass down the table in both directions with some really nice correspondence. I'll leave it at that. So we'll start down at this end and it'll work its way back through. That's it for CNC. We also have an invitation that will pass up and down the table for December 6th for the Pearl Harbor ceremony and celebration here, memorial here at the high school. So I'll pass that back.
Okay, we're going to move on to item number 4, reports for the evening, again with our Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Michael Brooks.
I'm really not going to take up much time right now. We have quite a bit of information that's going to be coming to us from a presentation from the high school staff here. I do want to point out, however, that New York State has produced its report card for Marlboro, actually for all school districts in the state, just produced this week. And we anticipate being able to present to the Board of Education and the community our successes and certainly our areas of challenge that still exist, and are looking forward to that opportunity. We will get a little taste of that tonight from the high school's perspective. About a month ago, we did give a little bit of taste into that in the at the middle school. So as we progress through the next couple of months, we'll provide more and more information about our progress and our path to success. And we are absolutely on a great path to success. Very talented staff and certainly wonderful children that we have here in Marlboro. I'm very excited to be able to present where we are in our academic pursuits. So with that, I don't have anything further.
Okay, we'll move on to we'll move on to Orange County School Boards with Mrs. Joanne.
Sorry. I missed the last meeting when we were, went to convention up in Buffalo. There's a lot of new things going on. Can you come back?
Sure. Because I knew Ms. Reed wasn't going to be able to go to the meeting, I went to the Orange County School Board's meeting, and there was a presentation from the Legoland developers that are putting together a project in Goshen for developing Legoland. And they talked about the educational opportunities that would be available to students in the region to go for some real exciting opportunities.
You want me to go through the law conference?
If you want, we can copy that and send it to the board. Just give it that meeting, and we'll scan it and send it out. Okay? Good.
Next on the agenda is Ulster County School Boards with our rep, Mr. Parker.
The last meeting was October the 6th, which was the same night as our board meeting, so I wasn't there. But I did get the minutes from the meeting. They did bring up our letter about the recess issues, and they are discussing it, and they've sent it, they have a subcommittee that looks at legislative affairs. That's really to happen. Our next meeting is December the 5th, and I'll be going.
Very good. We're going to move on to item number 5, a presentation from our Marlboro High School program. We'll turn things over to our superintendent of schools, Mr. Brooks, and his staff.
I'm going to pass it very quickly to Mr. Lawler. So, Mr. Lawler, for Alana, thank you very much. Ms. Cotero, thank you.
All right, so first up, we're going to have Ms. Giacoya and the FCCLA presentations.
Good evening. I'm Amory Giacoya. I'm the advisor for the high school chapter of FCCLA and co-advisor with Ms. Wolford for the middle school chapter. This past July, we had students who participated in the FCCLA National Leadership Conference and competitions in San Diego, California. I would like to present the following students with their certificates for their accomplishments. Whitney Ewing. Whitney is the New York State FCCLA State Treasurer. She's receiving a certificate for state officer training from National FCCLA. Elisa Jennison is receiving the recognition certificate from Nationals for Star Net Evaluator Team. She was part of the group that judged all the competitions. Nicholas Mackey is receiving the recognition certificate for participating on the National Officer Nominating Committee. Margot Snow is receiving the Gold Award for her focus on children's StarNet. Emily Griffin is receiving a Silver Award for her Recycle and Redesign StarNet. Sarah Mackey is receiving a Silver Award for Food Innovations StarNet. And Elizabeth Bauer is receiving the Silver Award for Food Innovations also. Lizzie's not here tonight because she won the Univo Essay Contest and is getting her award at the ship. So, and also those two young ladies, do you want to explain what they...
Lizzie and Sarah had put in for a grant for their STAR event. They created a breakfast bar out of quinoa and blueberries. And they were one of the chosen winners out of 7 people out of, how many people did we come from? 8,500 children that won a grant, and we just received information today saying that they will be getting their money pending that I get all the information sent to them. So another congratulations to those girls right there for doing it.
Also not with us this evening are Ellie Keating, who received the Gold Award for a focus on children's StarNet, and Madison Du Bois, who received the Gold Award for Chapter and Review StarNet. So I'm very proud of them. They do marvelous work. Our kids always do marvelous work here at Marlboro.
Okay, so thank you to our students again, Ms. Giacoya. Congratulations on your awards. Seems like every year they win awards here. So we're going to get started with our presentation. So the first thing we're going to talk about is, do people here want to you want to have a seat over this way? Okay, so we're going to start with our core philosophy, beliefs, and goals. Take a look at the board. That goal that's listed at the bottom, to continually challenge students to take the most challenging classes and graduate with the highest diploma possible. That really is starting to be a theme here, that for each group of students, we have different groups that come through the school. We want to make sure that each student is challenged and is rising to that challenge, and we're giving them the support that they need. We're, of course, driven by the 3 essential questions, and emphasizing 3 A's, which we're going to talk about a little later in the presentation. In terms of a snapshot of our school, we have 608 students right now. You can see the grade breakdown. And we do have 89 students with an IEP, 27 students with a 504 plan, and we have 7 ENL students. Ms. Mealy did a presentation a few weeks ago about our ENL program, and so we have Mr. Edelman's just joined us to provide services to our kids with ENL. So that's kind of the latest thing that we've added to meet our students' needs. In terms of diplomas and credentials, we'll just take a look at last year's graduating group. We had a New York State 4-year graduation rate of 95.24. I'm going to talk about graduation rate a little bit later and explain that, because it can be a very confusing thing, depending on how we rate ourselves versus how the state is rating what we're doing. And I want to show that. We did get 90.6% with a Regents diploma or better, so any advanced Regents diplomas or diplomas with CTEC credentials would be included in that Regents number. We did have 9.4% local diplomas. In terms of our CTEC program, that was a question that came up a few weeks ago. In terms of last year, we had 25% of our class participate, 27% of our class participate in that. That number's dropped a little bit in terms of percentage, but again, each year, I feel that we're meeting the needs of the students. We're getting the students encouraged to participate in CTEC if that's the right program for them, or pushing them toward other options if that's the right program for them. And obviously, students have choice. They get advisement, but they're going to make decisions and choices. But I do feel confident that we're meeting the needs of students. Last year's outcome, we were actually up from our normal percentage of 4-year college attendance. We had a 45.9%, 29.5% 2-year college enrollment, 3.8% military, 12.6% for the workforce. A lot of those students actually have a CTEC credential and are going to be right in the workforce with the skills that they've learned. And then 3.8% undecided. So in terms of graduation rate, if you look at the bottom of this chart, it's going to show 2009-10, goes up to our last year was 2015-16. You actually see that over time it goes up and down, but it has certainly, it's gone up. We had a phenomenal graduation rate last year. I show this chart because I do think there's always going to be a little bit of variability. So just to understand what a New York State 4-year graduation rate is, that's the students that enter our school in 9th grade, and they're kind of judged at the end of 4 years. Now you have students that move in during that time, and you have students that may leave our district during that time. I do know that last year we got 181 students 180 out of 189 students through. So 180 out of 189. And looking at the 9 students we didn't get through, I started here November 16th last year. I didn't actually meet those students that didn't make it through. Which I want to bring a point of emphasis to that. We do lose kids in terms of attendance over time. Several of those students moved, but of course, because they did not continue their education, they are counted against us in that 4-year graduation rate. The way that I judge our school, there were actually 2 students from when I started here, from when the year really started last year, that were part of our group that did not end up graduating. One had been part of the 2015 cohort, one had been part of the 2014 cohort. In my view, we really moved the mountains to get kids through our school. So I think our success last year was phenomenal. Regardless of the number, I know that we did everything we could. In fact, there are cases of kids who, it would have been easy for us to say, you know what, you're not even standing 3/4 of the way through the year. But our staff really extended themselves to offer every opportunity possible for kids to graduate. So, that number may go up and down. What I can tell you is we're committed here to helping every student have an opportunity to get here. So our diploma types, you've got a handout. This is going to end up being on the website. You're going to see the orange is local diplomas. The black is a Regents diploma or better. So those two together actually equal 100. So the orange and the black is 100% together. The gray, you see the advanced Regents diploma. That is a number that you're going to see that changes a little bit over time. In fact, we just got a new iteration of math with Algebra 2, and that is a threshold exam for an advanced diploma. So even though kids may be challenging courses, if they're struggling getting through that or the checkpoint B or foreign language, or if they're struggling with upper level science, that may actually cost them an opportunity for advanced Regents diploma. So those percentages, like I said, you can see it over time. I'd like to show this graph again next year. What I said earlier, we're going to be challenging kids. I'd like to see that grade go up over time. I think it's something we want to have kids prepared and take rigorous courses to really get them ready for the future. But understand that's complicated. The exams get more difficult in math and science for sure. And so we need to make sure that we are challenging students, giving them the support that they need. So we'll talk about academics, the first of the 3 A's. So continuous improvement, that's definitely a motto. We're always looking at ways we can get better. We have a lot of conversations in the building here about how we can get better within departments. We talk about not just exams, but also programs that kids are a part of. And so that's part of our philosophy. College classes in the high school setting, I'll just take a moment to emphasize that. We have 417 instances of college enrollment this year. That's students taking courses from staff in our high school with the opportunity to earn college credit at the end of that experience. So it says instances because we've got kids taking multiple courses. So it depends. Some students are taking 1 or 2 college courses. Some kids are really challenging themselves with that. Other students are preparing themselves well over time, and some of them are taking actually a full load of college courses in the high school setting. And we do have advanced placement. In addition to that, in college, we have 98 instances of the AP enrollment as well. And then you do have the one course which is the AP Calculus, which is kind of a dual course for students. Some students are going to take the AP, some students are going to get college credit for it. And in special education E&L, I'll just point out that we try to move toward a co-taught setting as much as possible this year, which means students are being pushed at the level everybody else is, and they're getting support in the regular room. So that's an emphasis for us as well this year. So academic accomplishments. So last year, and I said this at graduation, the class of 2016 earned a total of 2,015 college credits before they left the high school setting. And keep in mind, some kids are going to take courses in 11th grade, some take them in 11th and 12th. So we'll kind of look at that year to year. In addition to that, we had 125 advanced placement exams taken. Students don't necessarily have to be in an advanced placement course to take the exam. So we do have kids that challenge exams we weren't even teaching in school. But that's something we had last year. In addition to that, 50 graduates earned a career in technical education endorsement, and 46 students were inducted into the National Honor Society. Okay, this is probably going to hurt you visually if you don't have a handout. I'm actually going to explain again some of the terminology because over time I'd like to talk about the differences of our exam results and what they mean. If we look on the left, this is a comparison with our Orange Ulster BOCES. There's 16 or 17 districts in general, depending on which exam is being taken. And so we have a Regents exam. That first column of data is the June 2016 passing rate. So I want to call attention to that. That's not actually the number you're going to see on the New York State report card. That's the number, the percentage of passing for students that were here with us in June. They're enrolled in our school, they took the exam here in school. When you look at the New York State report card data, it also puts in out-of-district placed students, and it also has January exams and August exams. But I put that number up because that's really reflective of our percentages of success at the end of our courses in the subjects. And you see some of the exams are more rigorous over the course of time. And if you have any questions about that, we certainly can take a little time to explain that later. The second column is the mastery rate. That's an 85% or above. So we obviously want to see, always we want to see the highest possible passing rate and also challenge our students so that they're also in that mastery area. On the next column is the 2016 district pass and mastery comparison. So that's within our 17 or 16 Schools, and I'm going to say that I took a little bit of look into the data. It really came out Monday afternoon, but just in looking at it carefully, there is a general clustering. In general, most of the exam results are pretty close to each other, so just want to caution you that when something's a really good result and when something's maybe a little bit lower than we expect, I do think there is a clustering of that data, and so that's not. I'll talk in a minute about what we're actually doing with our exam results, which is more tangible actually in this chart. And then on the right, that last column was the data from last year, our comparison. So this is another thing we need to chart over time and just kind of pay attention to where we are. We aspire to be, to get as best results as we possibly can, knowing that from year to year that's going to vary. So this is actually an important conversation about the Regents exams. After the exams, and I put the checkpoint up there as well, that's the exam given in Spanish. There's no longer a Regents in Spanish, but there's a checkpoint exam. After those tests were given, we did work with our department chairs to give them detailed handouts on exactly how what areas our students were doing well on exams and what areas they were struggling. They then worked in departments to come up with common themes that seem to be areas we can emphasize this year in instruction to help kids improve their experience on the exams. This is part of what we do instructionally. If you read through the points of emphasis, you're going to see a lot on vocabulary, reading for understanding, a lot of the push of the new exams that's come through, even the new math exams, the new ELA Common Core, has been a real focus on reading for understanding. And so, for instance, on the Algebra 2 exam last year, we noted that students struggled with understanding what the calculation that they had to do. Which, by the way, that's not a Marlboro issue. That's an issue statewide. That's an issue with the new exam. So I want to be clear that everybody understands that. This is just part of the picture, but we have to look at it and we have to come up with a way that we can help our students improve. This also helps us in vertical conversations when we're working with the middle school and the elementary school, so that we kind of know over time what our students have to improve in. So for the arts, I'm going to have Mr. Portolano talk.
Well, thank you, Mr. Lawler. I don't need that.
The camera does.
Oh, the camera does? I'm sorry. Well, as you can see, besides academics, we're doing very well in a lot of other things. Look at some of the numbers up there. We're talking about Mid-Hudson Valley Regional Scholastic Art Awards. 94 silver and golds. 75 earned honorable mention. And we keep going to NIMSA. We have a lot of talented students here, folks. A lot of talented students. And this is just a snapshot of what we do with them. Who was here for the last drama production? See what the kids put together? Phenomenal. Next slide, sir. Athletics. Okay. What do I have to say about us last year, huh? How many schools can actually say they had 4 teams in the Final Four? How many can say they had 2 state champions in 1 year? Not many. I know where I came from, we couldn't say that. All right, come on, look, 7 section titles. New York State School of Distinction for our student athletes, an accomplishment in 2015-16. We've also had that in previous years. Let's be very proud of the folks that we have here. Very proud of our kids. Sir?
Mr. Guittaro is going to handle advisement. So I'm just going to talk over there.
Counselors meet with each student to review a personal learning plan. The personal learning plan includes important information a student should be aware of in high school. For example, it touches upon the specific graduation requirements for each diploma type. There are 3 diplomas that are available to students. One is the local diploma, one is the Regents diploma, and the other is the Regents with advanced designation. The following topics are also discussed: transcripts, PSAT, SAT, and ACT information, NCAA requirements, CTEC programs, and post-secondary plans and goals. In addition to personal learning plans, students also complete a career interest inventory. Students' interests are identified by responding to a series of data-driven items. The results of each individual's assessment generates a list of careers that coincide with the student's personality type. And the one that we were using is Myers-Briggs. Now I will turn it over to Ryan Lawler so that he can describe the Naviance program.
Thank you, Mr. Guittaro. So for Naviance, we brought that on this year. We thank you for that program. We so far have had the 11th and 12th grade students in our computer lab, and they're in that program. We did show them the ability to college search. There's also a personality type assessment called Do What You Are in Naviance. We showed the students that. There is a career interest profiler, scholarship searches, college searches, and there's also detailed admission data in there. We started to build from last year, so we have some data from last year that's in there for students. We do have plans in the spring between myself and the counselors to get the 9th and 10th grade students also into the program. And so the vision of Naviance and the Family Connection, what it is, it's an opportunity for kids to take some surveys and to then get to put together lists and kind of warehouse their results for those surveys and information to help them start answering those big questions. There's going to be a lot of pressure on teenagers. I was talking about Thanksgiving is a super high pressure situation for high school juniors and seniors. I don't know whether you know that or not, but everybody that they bump into is asking them, what are you going to do? Where are you going? You know, you thought about your future. That's kind of how that hits them. So keep that in mind, that this program is actually designed to help give them a skill set to start answering that question. I always tell the kids in the presentations, we're not going to give you the answers today, but what we are going to do, we're going to introduce you to a program that has research and information in it, where over time, if you see something, you might go on vacation, you might see, a marine biologist working, you might be Cape Cod and watch a marine biologist, at work, you might decide, that's pretty cool, what do I have to do to become a marine biologist? They have access now through this program to kind of log in and to match up their strengths, match up their interests, and kind of see how that might play out for them, figure out what schools and programs to study might lead them in that direction. So that's really the vision. We're building for that. We're working on that collaboratively. Now I'm going to let Ms. Gutierrez continue with the next piece.
At the high school, post-secondary planning begins freshman year and continues through graduation. Identifying each individual student's needs, their life circumstances, and the environmental factors involved are precursors to post-secondary planning. The role of the counselor in regard to post-secondary planning is dictated by the goals of each individual student. Counselors work with every student to assist them in achieving their future plans.
Okay, I'm going to let Mr. Cortolano talk about dignity, respect, and school culture.
Thank you, sir. Well, I'm not going to read that to you, but one of the things that we do have with the Dignity Act, every year in September we do grade level assemblies where we go over and review the entire program with our students. So there wasn't any questions about what we consider what is it, I lost my train of thought. What?
A DOSTA violation?
No, what's that called?
Bullying?
No. I'm sorry.
$10 for the win.
No.
We're offering money for the answers.
They would call it that, something that's indexed. There's about 8 of them where if there are one of those violations, we conduct an investigation where we not only look at the victims, but I should say the complainant, the alleged victims, and the suspects. And we go through that process to see whether it's founded or not. And what we have to do with that is we have to do a report at the end of the year to indicate how many of those we had during incidents. As you can see, we have people that came here, guest speakers that went over the culture of the school, I should say. Basically, the bottom line is how do kids get along with each other, how to communicate, how to interact appropriately. These are things that we see today where a lot of students really don't do it very well. And we brought in several guest speakers. We have James Niles coming in next month, going to some of our classes to talk about the overall respect. And that's a key word because a lot of them really don't know how to respect each other. And that's something that we have to teach and we emphasize all the time. Next slide, please. Now this is one here, disciplinary trends. As you can see, we went back a few years when it started in 2012. As you look at detentions, in-school suspensions, out-of-school suspensions, have been pretty much the same. Last year in particular, you'll see a little bit of a bump in in-school suspensions. Yes, we did. And in a case like that, we had 3 or 4 students were probably what we call frequent flyers that were in and out of the office quite a bit. And if you look at disciplinary referrals for last year, we had a spike. And that's a good thing, because now people are trusting us to do what we have to do to make sure the school is safe and secure. And again, a lot of that can be attributed to 3 or 4 students which bumped that up. Some of them are no longer here. To give an example, we do the data for next year, we just had some students recently come to us. And unfortunately, a little bit problematic, and you may see a little bit of a spike in that collection. Sir?
Okay, so I'm going to talk about what's new this year. So one of the things you saw on the Dignity Act slide, Link Crew, we have 41 older students who are leading our younger 9th grade students. They're 11th and 12th grade students. It's quite a culture change here. We actually have game night tomorrow night. We had students invited in the fall. The Link leaders were checking in with students. And it's to me, it's really made the 9th grade kids feel welcome and part of the high school experience from the beginning. It's encouraged some of our older students to be leaders, and they really embrace that role. Now, Beyonce talked about, we did expand our co-taught program this year, specifically 9th and 10th grade for English. We have now the full E&L services that we need for what's been an expanding student population in that area for us. Reading class has been added. We have 9 equal periods of instruction. So there had been kind of an 8-period plus truncated lunch schedule here for a few years. And so we made an adjustment. It really facilitates a better master schedule the way we've got things set up right now. So that is working very well. Kids actually get a full period to eat. So I would say that's something some of the kids talked to me about last year that won the popular vote on that one. I'm going to say they definitely like that. Video production, you've probably heard things about video production. A couple of us are now stars, I'm going to say, in the first series of videos that are coming out. So some of us did a little bit of dancing, things that are not typical for us, and you're going to see some blended videos coming out. I see a couple of stars in the room, to be honest, that are sitting back there. Mr. DeMarco is sinking in his seat. He's got to move exposed. Department chairs in all subject areas, so we've added K-12 art and music. We've added world language 6 to 12. And it's made them, we have meetings, routine meetings, not just after school, but also kind of during the school day. We have meetings as needed. I felt like having a meeting about this presentation and actually pulled everybody together today. So we built that flexibility in the schedule, and just having the chairs as part of the discussion is something that we definitely need in our system, and we're having those routine meetings. Gives everybody an opportunity to voice concerns and also over time to help us make great decisions. The way I look at things, I've always got to make decisions. Mr. Cortolano helps, the chairs help with those decisions. We get assistance from district office. But if we have a collaborative atmosphere where we're discussing things constantly, over time we're going to get the right decisions because we're going to get to the right place. Academic changes, so we did, in past, Regents had kind of not been of value in a final overall average in the last few years, or there had been kind of a choice between a final exam and a Regents, and that is something that, as we talked last year academically, we believe there needs to be value to the Regents, so we've instituted in general 15% of an overall course average, and 5% on a midterm, because that kind of gives us a checkpoint. There's been considerable work both in the summer and also during the school year on redesigning our midterms to make sure that we're meeting our needs and that kids are prepared for those final exams. Quarterly grades are worth 20% apiece. There are a few courses that we're going to explore over time. There might be kind of logical reasons to make adjustments to those percentages in certain courses, and so that's an open discussion that we're going to have. For instance, some exams are traditionally very difficult for students to get through. It might be of value to us to have the midterm be worth more and have the Regents be worth a little bit less, just so that we ensure students are having a successful experience. Part of that, we have to see how the exams change over time, some of these new exams, and how our student outcomes are looking. We do meet now with school counselors, psychologists, student assistance counselor, and administration to discuss at-risk students. That's something new that we're doing, is kind of having routine meetings. We've always met, we've always talked about kids and making sure we're meeting services, but we're sort of making sure everybody gets together to have that collaborative discussion to help kids. That gets back to the graduation rate and just making sure that we're supporting everybody in the way we need to. So for future considerations, like I said, always improving, always looking at things that are better. I know we made a number of adjustments this year that were positive, but I also know within a few weeks we have ideas we're looking at for next year and continue to look at. We do seem to have something missing here, and we had it here in the past, and that what's missing is we've got college classes, we've got AP classes, we send students to CTEC, but there are not a whole lot of electives for kids in areas that they used to be able to take electives, which would be business career in life sciences and technology. We do find technology, for instance, that technology classes are full and there's actually much more of a demand for it. It is something that kids ask about, and I would argue that those are courses that are of value to kids. They kind of help them figure out who they are and kind of teach them a different aspect of life. So, over time, I think we need to look at how we can add some of those courses if we can. Preparing for technology, instruction, and learning. Actually, Mrs. Ranfanel and Mr. DeMarco are both here in the audience. They joined us, went to the Allen November workshop about 2 weeks ago, and I have to tell you, it was an amazing experience. Last year we saw Allen November, some of the administrators saw him, and we had an experience that, okay, we're not providing maybe the services that are preparing kids to be tech ready to enter the college classroom or enter employment after they leave high school. And I have to tell you, in a few months, our teachers, pretty much all the teachers in this room, to be honest, are really embracing the technology we learned about on our opening day. And I'm really proud of the fact that I go to a workshop and our folks are raising their hand to answer questions about things that they're doing that are then ideas for other school districts in the area that are sitting there. That's a really neat experience. People are not resisting this here. We're actually craving it. We need it. We know the kids need it. We know we're going to be better when we embrace it. So it's really a neat experience to be part of. And then we will be evaluating our academic intervention services. We made some change this year to how we're serving students. I think that's going to be a constant area that we look at. So that's the presentation, and answer questions. Yes, sir.
When you talked about the academic changes in the grading and the regents in the order of final exam, now is that going to be the student's choice on which? Because I know there's issues with the chemistry region. Depending on where you score on it, there's a negative curve. So is it the student that gets to choose between?
It's not a student choice. We have, what it is for us is that's actually one of the exams that we can look at. I mean, when I talk about there are a few exams and courses we need to look at, it specifically would be chemistry, physics potentially, algebra 2. Those are really the courses that pop into my mind. It can't be a choice, but understand that until this year, at least for the last few years, students were sitting down for a Regents exam. It was, 3 hours in length. It was a serious exam, and it had no impact on their final overall course average. To me, there has to be an incentive in life for anything that we do. There has to be some buy-in to what you're doing, and we just have to figure it's going to be a better thing. Now, some districts have 25% of the overall course value. That, to me, is kind of extreme, because some kids struggle with the tests. So the idea, again, is to put a value into the tests. We'll evaluate those percentages. Our goal is kind of get everybody on the same page, everybody rowing in the same direction, so there's value for the exams.
I have a question. With the diplomas that you have up here, the only thing I don't see is like the IEP diplomas, were there any IEP diplomas? Are there any GEDs, instead of the GED? So I'm kind of like looking.
We didn't actually have any IEP diplomas last year. There weren't any students that left the program last year. To our knowledge.
A Regents diploma and then a local diploma?
That's correct. In terms of GED, I don't know if anybody.
Yeah, those numbers are from the building. So outside of the building, we did have someone leave with the skills credentials, no longer the IEP diploma. So outside of the high school building, yes, there was somebody who left with that credential, and GED is not given by the high school either. We did have actually
Right,
two GEDs.
I understand that, but what happens is they also have a choice to stay to the age of 21, regardless of what age they are, to get a diploma. So my question is, with the GED, do we try to encourage them to stay here?
Well,
Is there
if they
ways,
choose
you
to
know-
do GED, it's not run through the high school. It's
I
a
know,
special
it's
program
run through
outside
both,
of the high
right,
school.
it's run through both sides.
Right, and
Okay.
once they receive their GED, that's their credential to then leave.
I understand that, but what it says, when we put numbers together, we should also be putting how many have left to get their GED or are going towards their GED, or how many did get an IEP or still
But
don't.
last year, we had all our classified kids who left this building got the local refuge diploma. Yes. Yes.
So his numbers were reflective of this building.
Right, and that's, it's kind of, you have the New York State numbers and information you see on the report card. They've never been quite accurate from a building perspective. So what you saw reflected every student that walked out of this building. If that changes next year, now, as it does change, it will change over time, we will then see reflected in the numbers any students that got a different type of credential.
I do know when we were up in Buffalo, one of the concerns was the skills diploma and bringing it back to a New York State diploma instead of like a Regents diploma. So that was one of the big discussions up there. My other question is, you said, you have kids that have some problems or have you ever thought about putting together a conflict resolution team together with other students so they can talk out their problems?
We do have peer mediation here for students who have issues. We run, we deal with every conflict is different, to be honest. And so there's a lot of skill, and that's a lot of where Mr. Portolano's expertise comes in, to be honest, in how he knows our kids and kind of handles all those little things. There are times that we have conversations with kids, there are times that we put kids together, sometimes we work with families, and sometimes we need to take a break for a day or two before we're able to do that. We do have Kathy Harden runs mediations with students often.
But Joanne, we also have Safe School Ambassadors, run by Kathy Harden, which also intervene in that. So we do have different levels.
I know that again, going up to Buffalo, that was one of the things in other school districts, they actually have a group of students committee. Because one of the new things going up there is when we suspend children in-house or out of house, what are we doing? Is there a way to stop it? Is there a way maybe they can get their peers to help them? So that was one of the other things that I found very interesting while, being up here. And I'm wondering if we had something like that. Do we have a committee of students with administrators running it?
So to answer the question, we have Link Group, which, the purpose of Link Group is culture in your building. It's to make people feel comfortable and to have older leaders that are there to assist them. I do personally feel like this building feels the way a high school should, to be honest. I mean, we have really good conditions at this high school. You walk through the building, and I'm going to say when I got here last year, I think, there were times at first when I'm not sure there was a consistent feel for things. Again, we have Link Crew that is there, we have Safe School Ambassadors, we have peer mediation. We're a small school, and we've got 3 meaningful programs with students. I certainly would take any materials that you got. I can take a look at it. Certainly, our goal is to institute every program possible to eliminate the need to take actions. But then things do happen. That's part of what happens in the school. And honestly, from that keeps your culture the way it needs to be sometimes. We had something happen. We had something happen last week that just needed to be dealt with a certain way. And I'm convinced in dealing with it that way is probably not most received in the best way by that one particular student and family. But I can tell you, it was the solution that we needed in that moment. So that this building is the way that it should be.
Okay.
All right, so I want to thank everybody for coming, our department chairs and teachers. Ms. Gutero, thank you so much for presenting tonight. Mr. Portolano, thank you.
I want to thank everybody from the high school again for that great presentation. We really appreciate you guys putting in the extra time. We're going to move on to item number 6, which would be public comment on this evening's agenda item. If anybody that has any questions or comments on this evening's agenda, please approach the microphone, state your name and address the board of education. Now, we're going to move on to our consent agenda for the evening. Resolved that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, acknowledges the receipt of the following financial reports for October 2016 as presented. Motion for approval of consent agenda reports. Frank, second. Can't see everything. James, discussion. Russell.
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Joanne.
Yes.
Myself, yes. On to item number 8. Personnel recommendations for the evening. Resolved that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, approves the following personnel recommendations as presented. Motion for approval of this evening's personnel recommendations. recommendations, Frank. Second, Joanne.
Do I have to go?
We are going to take a moment to point out, to move to our personnel action report. Item C, the retirement of our district clerk, Ms. Simon Scatura, who has been with us since I was in school. I'm sure others will remember. Others will remember. I've been with us for 40-some odd years. Is that what you just said?
You have to also look at that Irene has served too many superintendents to count, principals to count, and more importantly, children. So I'm sure we're going to have an awful lot more to say about what's going to happen in a couple of seconds.
I know personally, since my kids have been here, since the age of 3, I believe. I've been in and out of the superintendent's office. I've seen them come and go. I've seen Irene always stay with a smile on her face and always willing to help everyone in this district. From personnel to staff to mostly parents and children in the school district. So I have to honestly say, thank you very much.
I will point out that she'll be with us for at least 6 more meetings. So we will have time to say goodbye properly as time goes by, but it's really important to note that everyone has elected to take some time.
So before I vote, you sure it's a good one?
So, questions, comments, discussion on personnel agenda items for this evening? Jeff?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
And myself, yes. So again, congratulations, Evan.
Thank you.
We wish you. On to item number 9, resolve that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation that the superintendent of schools acknowledge the receipt of the CSE CPSE recommendation meetings as listed below. Motion for approval of CSE CPSE meeting recommendations. James, second. Susan. Discussion? Russell.
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
Joanne.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Item number 10, resolve the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, approve the following individuals for lead evaluators for the 2016-17 school year. Michael M. Brooks, lead evaluator for principals. Deborah Clinton, lead evaluator for teachers. Michael Bacachus, lead evaluator for teachers. Motion for approval of APPR lead evaluators. Susan. Second. Joanne. Discussion? Russell.
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Joanne.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Item number 10, resolve that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, approves and authorizes the superintendent of schools to sign the following agreements. Memorandum of agreement by and between the Marlboro Central School District and the UPSEU Secretary Unit dated October 26, 2016. The employment contract July 1st, 2016 through June 30th, 2020 by and between Marlboro Central School District and Suzanne Smith, Censor Enumerator District Treasurer. Employment contract July 1st, 2016 through June 30th, 2020 by and between Marlboro Central School District and Cynthia Storno, Senior Database Clerk, Typist, Personnel Secretary. The employment contract July 1st, 2016 through February 27th, 2016 by and between the Marlboro Central School District and Irene M. Scatoro, Superintendent Secretary, Typist, and District Clerk. St. James Tutoring, Inc., 24 Suite B, Bellemeade Avenue, Smithtown, New York, 11787 for tutoring services during the 2016-17 school year at a cost of $49 per hour, and the Harris School Solutions 2011 Renaissance Boulevard, Suite 100, King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, 19406 for software license, maintenance, and services for the 2016-17 school year. Motion for approval of contracts. Frank. Second. Susan. Discussion.
I have a question for the last two, what are they?
So the tutoring is just straight up tutoring of students who are admitted to a hospital environment. We have just one student right now in this one institution that this company services.
Is there a way that we can put that on the next time of what exactly it does? Because it looks like we're paying someone $49 an hour, that this is suspended or tone or you know, for
I'd be prepared to answer any questions.
so that was my question. And the second one is?
The second one is the WinCap licensing software, or WinCap software licensing fees. And that was an oversight through Harris School Solutions. This is something that we always paid for through the central business office, but they just overlooked actually contracting with all the districts that are serviced through the central business office, so this is just kind of a housekeeping.
Is there a dollar amount that goes with this software?
Yeah, it's and again, we don't pay this directly. This is billed through the central business office, but I believe the contract was put online. That's Sullivan Moses is our central business office. Let me see if there's a total dollar now.
So the leasing software, basically.
That's just the licensing fees. And it's something that we paid since we've been in the central business office, but just is not.
We can get that number out to you.
I got it. $10,995.55.
And that's for you, correct?
Yes, July 2016 to June 2017. WinCap maintenance and support fees.
Other questions, comments about this evening's contracts? Russell?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
I must abstain. Thank you. On to item number 12. Resolved that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, hereby approve the separation agreement entered into by the Marlboro Central School District and Employee 179 on November 8th, 2016. Can I get a motion for approval of the separation agreement for Employee 179? Frank. Second. James. Discussion. Russell.
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Joanne.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Resolve the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, acknowledge the receipt of the following: Marlboro Central School District financial statements and supplementary information and extra classroom activity fund cash basis reports as of June 30th, 2016 as presented, and a letter of corrective action in response to the financial statements and supplementary information report as of June 30th, 2016 as presented. Motion for approval of the items under order reports. Susan. Second. Jeff. Discussion.
We are going to have a full presentation from our auditor at our next meeting, the first meeting in December. So Pat's preparing for that with our auditor as we speak.
Any other questions, comments? Russell.
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Joanne.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Resolved that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, authorize the following filing of return tax claims for 2016-17 as presented. Motion for approval of authorizing filing of return tax claims. Frank. Second. Jeff. Discussion. Russell.
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Joanne.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Item number 15, old business. Is there any old business for this evening? Any old business? On to item number 16, any new business for this evening?
Yes, I have one. As things continue to grow, we're continually worried and concerned about what's in the best safety of the district. I'd like the board to consider moving the annual elections out of the Marlboro Elementary School for the district budget vote and the board members, and moving it to Milton. There's no reason, now that we have a building that's not a school, it's a school, but it doesn't have children in it, that we need to be disrupting the elementary school with having all those people coming into the building while classes are in session. It's a Tuesday. We need to give the town plenty of advance notice so the court's aware that they wouldn't be able to be in session that night. But I just think it's in the best interest of the district to do that and for the district students.
I'll do some research to look into the logistics and legality of that.
Should also-
You also have the people on the Newburgh side, that's
Well-
one of the reasons why it was Marlboro Elementary.
That's nice,
because
but the
that-
people can drive further for the safety of our children.
I understand that, but that was the middle point of doing that.
We don't need to debate it right now. Well, let me get some background information and see what we're allowed to do and what the questions that would be raised as far as what we have to do logistically, and then let the board decide.
If you could also talk to the police chief about parking and traffic entry, I'd be curious to know what his thought is when people moving in and out.
Also, just so you know, just for everybody knows, for those that don't live at that end, districts 4, 5, and 6 for the town vote, all were held there. So, and there were a lot of people this year that voted, and it flowed nice and smoothly.
Also, under this evening's new business is policy section 4000, our first reading, so there's our obligation to point that out. We'll have our second reading at the next meeting. Other new business for this evening? Any other items for this evening? Any other items? At this time, we'll give people an opportunity to address the Board of Education, questions, comments. If you would like to address the board, please approach the microphone, state your name and address, and address the Board of Education, please. Anybody? Questions, comments, statements? We do have a proposed executive session for this evening for the purpose of reviewing the employment history of a particular person, which may lead to the discipline or removal of that particular person subject to board approval. We don't expect to have action afterwards. Motion for adjournment to executive session. Susan, second. James. All in favor? Any? Thank you all for coming.